All right, part two of everything is a game. So the coffee is rare, heated up from yesterday. The primary reason is because I spent 10 hours about dealing with technical issues. I'm not going to worry about that, but all I'm going to say is fuck Google, right? Um, there's a factory reset protection thing on your phone where if you reset your phone and you don't have the access to that old Google account, it basically bricks the phone. And I'm trying to recover an old business phone for when I had an LLC. I guess I am going to tell you about that, but that's all I'm going to go into about it. I'm not going to. You know what? I can use it as an example for the video, right? The issue is that I didn't play by the rules, right? There are several things I could have done back when I made it. So I swore I wrote down the password for the account somewhere, but all the passwords I've tried, which are intentionally not labeled to prevent someone like breaking into my house and knowing where to use the password. There, I've got passwords in my note apps. I've got passwords written down on index cards. I've got passwords written down on post-it notes. There's no passwords on this post-it note. It's just what I want to talk about in these videos. So don't waste your time going back and trying to find my passwords on that. But uh, two things I didn't do are make sure I had it locked into a password manager, right? That's something I've been using more because back in the day, I used to make up all my own passwords, right? I would take an item or a person, something that was important in my mind, and then I would codify it. That I have this book on coding, not coding like computer coding, like what's it called? Encryption and writing code and things like that. So I would take this image or item or person and I would create a type of replacement code or something for that. And then I would also add random capitalization and punctuation. And I would make pretty strong passwords using that. But then I would use those passwords for almost everything, right? I had like four or five, and three that I definitely remembered that I used for most things. But the problem with that is no matter how good your password is, it might be theoretically unbreakable with modern decryption methods using a brute force attack. But all it takes is one data breach, and then every place that uses that password, especially if they can find your login info too, like your username, which most people use the same username or email address across multiple sites, especially people who are content creators or people who have an online business because it's a brand identity thing. And it's if you're just trying to have maximum anonymity, then yeah, you can absolutely use different login email for everything. And in fact, the email that I use these days, which is Proton, they actually have a built-in tool that lets you create anonymized emails that will route to your main email. So if you really want to be super safe, use something like that. But in general, most people, they just have one or two passwords and one login email, which means that if there's a data breach, which they happen every day, then all of your accounts across every website and even your bank info and all that stuff are just immediately compromised, right? So these are the rules of the game. And the other rule that I didn't really follow is that Google wants you to preset recovery info. They're not like other systems like AOL or other companies that I've used in the past. Even Jagex, I was able to recover my RuneScape login info just by emailing them and giving them some of my personal information that they would have already had on file, just confirming that data, right? Google, they make it a lot more difficult to just recover your info. The rules they want you to play by are link this account to another account. And I didn't do that, so I can't do the standard recovery. Also, they've done this stupid fucking thing called factory reset protection, where if you reset your phone, then you need to use a previously connected Google account to unlock that phone. Now, they claim it's for theft protection, but it doesn't actually protect you from theft in any single way. One, because they still stole your phone, right? It doesn't matter, even if, say, it works perfectly, they still stole your phone. You don't have your phone anymore. Them locking you out of your phone after you factory reset it doesn't give you your phone back, you know? But two, there are ways around this factory reset protection. And that's what I spent like 7 hours doing yesterday. And I got to the point where I was reaching diminishing returns. I'm looking into alternative options now to unlock that phone. And the main reason I want it is just to make my workflow easier. It's not active anymore. It's an old track phone, which makes it especially difficult because track phones have locked bootloaders, which means that I can't just install a new operating system and wipe the old one. And these are all the rules of the game, right? And the reason why it's been so frustrating is because I haven't been playing by the rules of the game. Now, why do they have this factory reset protection? Well, there's two reasons. They want you to upload more of your data so that it's easier to farm your data and sell it to advertisers, because that's Google's biggest income. And they want you to buy new phones if you brick your own phone, because that's also a huge source of income for Samsung and whoever, right? So it also creates a secondary market for these phone repair companies that have the programs or have debugging, well, not necessarily debugging, but they know the quirks to get into the system to clear factory reset protection. So it's all about money in the end, is why they do this, right? They're not trying to protect you. Anytime they say they're trying to protect you, or especially trying to protect the children, they're either trying to squeeze more money out of you or trying to manipulate and censor and control you. Usually both at the same time. And that's the game of life, right? Is to survive this control and influence and find a way to assert your own influence and control. And the reason why so many people fail at the game of life is because they have been either deluded or tricked into wasting their energy on things that they have no control over, right? So people will spend all day ranting about something that is happening on the other side of the country or the other side of the world, and then they're like, man, I'm miserable because I can barely afford to eat. Well, you could have been working instead of ranting about something you can't control, right? And it's easier than ever to just go work. Now, it is worth noting that the dollar is worth less than ever. So you need to work more than ever to make ends meet, which is its own problem that we're not going to address in this particular video. I have this twisty tie that I'm just playing with. And I'm kind of like gesturing with it, even though you can't see it. I feel like a teacher shaking a ruler at you guys. or or like a conductor conducting the symphony of destruction. Anyways, let me reset. So, with the internet and freelancing websites and gig work, you are now more able to be your own boss than at any point in history. And you now have more income potential than at any point in history, right? Especially if you learn how to use AI to build instead of to rot your brain, then you can scale businesses on levels and at rates that were inconceivable before the advent of the internet. And you can have businesses that you don't even do shit. Like, I'm never going to get into drop shipping because I just feel like that's kind of a pointless waste of my time. I much rather would prefer to provide legitimate services. I'm an excellent writer and editor. So if anyone out there is looking for a writer or editor or any type of on-screen personality or music's what I really want to focus on. Music, writing my novels, and building businesses that will help fix the problems in the world. Those are my three goals in life. But to fund those things, I need to do freelancing and gig work and other things like that. Or I could go get a regular 9-to-5 job, and I've done that since I was 15, but I realized that that ends up taking over my life because I'm the type of person that puts 100% of me into everything. And I just get used and abused by the system. And then the very people that I make rich off of my hard work are the ones that always stab me in the back and fuck me over. So that's why I don't work a regular 9-to-5 anymore, because doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. And working those 9-to-5s are what ruined my life. So it's not just about, the reason you need to learn the rules isn't so that you always obey them. It's so you know how to play the game and bend the rules to your advantage. Do you understand what I'm saying? I always pay my taxes, and generally I just do the standard deduction, but not this year, not like the 2025 taxes, but for 2026, I'm pretty sure this might be the first year I can really use itemized deductions to save me some additional money, especially because I'm going to be putting more eggs into different baskets than ever before. And pretty much every single cent I spend is an investment in my businesses. It's just not been high enough level of revenue to go above the standardized deduction. So it's all about learning the rules so you can tiptoe right along the line, right? I don't necessarily have I don't blame the billionaires for finding those tax loopholes and taking advantage of them. Who I do blame is the government for knowing those loopholes exist and refusing to close them while tightening the grip on people below the poverty line. It makes no sense. It's creating an unstable situation that I believe will inevitably lead to the collapse of the US, but we're going to do that in the third video today. I'm doing 3 videos today because this is the second video that I wanted to do yesterday, but I didn't get the chance to do it because I spent 7 hours trying to beat my head against a rule that I wasn't understanding. But there's 2 others I want to do after this that are both have to do with stuff I saw today. Something I want to talk about. Well, the first one is something I saw today. The second one is something I've talked about subtly, and I want to be more explicit with it. I understand the rules of the game in regards to that last one, and it means I'm probably going to end up a pariah, but I have accepted that role. That's the other thing that I don't think people understand is you need to know your place, right? I'll probably do a whole other video about that. But not everyone was born to be a king or queen. In fact, 99.9999 repeating percent of people were not born to be a king or a queen, but everyone has these delusions of grandeur. They say that power corrupts, but that's a lie. Power does not corrupt. The issue why we have so much corruption is that we have people wielding power that were never created to wield it. Power does not corrupt. It just reveals who you truly are. So anyone who tells you that power corrupts is telling you that they are a corrupt person. And since everyone's telling you that, how many people do you know that are corrupt people? It's kind of like the thing with the Infinity Gauntlet or the Thor's Hammer, Mjolnir. Only certain people are even capable of wielding that. And when you try to wield it but aren't capable of doing so, there's often disastrous consequences. Fortunately, Mjolnir has a safety built in where you can't even really pick it up. But with the Infinity Gauntlet or the Infinity Stones in general, you've seen just how much that type of power can be destructive when it was supposed to be the ultimate source of creation. The lore behind them is that they basically created the universe, and that's why they're so powerful. So you need to understand the rules of the game if you want to be successful in life. And this is any game, right? Whether it's marketing or tiling floor or writing news articles on the internet or childcare, anything you do in life, even your personal relationships with people, are a game. And I don't mean to say that in a way that it's like all fun and games type things. I mean, like, literally, there are rules. There are win conditions and lose conditions. And if you don't pay attention to these and you just stumble through life blindly, you're always going to lose, right? Because one of the most important things about game theory in general is that everyone's playing. I just lost the game. Anyways, uh, everyone's always playing at all times, just like the game. And just because you say, I don't want to participate, that doesn't mean you're not participating. When you choose not to participate, even though you're already participating, then people just use you and abuse you and take advantage of you because you're not playing. The true power lies in learning to play the game your own way. Yeah, I have the twisty tie again. Uh, so there's a saying from a Rush song. I'm sure it's existed before them and they were just quoting it probably. It's a very ancient wisdom. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. And what is that choice? The choice is to allow someone else to decide for you. That's the great irony of saying, I don't want to decide. By saying you don't want to decide, you're not saying a decision isn't going to be made. You're saying that the decision is going to be made for you and you no longer have any power over yourself. So learn the game, play by the rules, but learn to play the game the way that gets you what you want. All right? That's all I have for this one. I have a little bit of a headache. I get these weekly migraines still. I'm going to take a minute and make a new coffee, and then I'll do the other two videos. I love all of you. I'm going to review the other hazelnut in the second videos. Make sure you're armed and training. Delete Windows. De-Google yourself. I love all of you, and God bless America. Cheers.